Yes, yes. Today is Monday, and we are at the start of our week's program on Rebel Radio. Want to thank all my listeners and viewers for staying tuned to Rebel Radio. And today we have a list of programs for you. You know, we want to start our discussion by looking at the minimum wage and some of the other social issues. You know, as we speak, one of the things that we have in front of us now is that the industrial front in the country is getting very restive. Yes, several public sector workers are very restive over they have received their paychecks under the new compensation negotiation. But there's a lot of disgruntled workers. In the bauxite industry, workers are restive. The security guards. So, you know, we are at the start of the fourth month in the year, and the situation on the industrial front is very unstable. We want to continue our discussion today on the ganja industry. You know, that's a very important industry in Jamaica, and we want to ensure that it is dealt with properly. Our weekly program, Be Sure, is at 3 p.m. and we're going to be looking at how to protect ourselves, you know. Workers' time this afternoon, you know, we are going to be having a full slate of, you know, to discuss. And later on, we are going to be talking to a retired principal, James Walsh. We're going to be talking to what is happening in the classrooms now. And after that we will go over to Guyana, talk to the Guyanese opposition leader. But right now we want to kickstart our program by talking to, you know, known public commentator and social activist, Lucius White. Mr. White, are you there?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
Okay, and how are you today?
Much better than last week this time.
Okay. Well, Luce, you know, the minimum wage, you're aware that the minimum wage went up by $4,000, right? And so it is now $13,000.
Yeah.
We know one of the things is that at 13,000 Lush, that is still a small amount of money based on the cost of living.
That's right.
A family of, say, two, 13,000 is very difficult, as a matter of fact. Just the basic food, that is not enough to buy them food for the week, plus meet all the other daily expenses. What is your take on the situation?
Well, the situation, what we are experiencing is really effect of the short-sightedness of the policy. In other words, we have rearranged our tax structure from what was described as a progressive tax structure to this regressive system, where rather than the strongest back carry the heaviest load, they try to give a misguided impression about equity. So A man who is earning $10 million pays the same tax rate as a man who is earning $500,000. Now, somebody is going to tell you that, yes, but look how much money it is. But they don't look at it as to the what ability to pay. And what you have is a situation where a lot of things which were not taxed were used by the poor. Taxes were put on them in order to get the tax system that you have now. So whether you have the ability to pay or not, you must eat. And if you tax the things that people eat, and that's the same rate everybody eats, means that you have technically increased the burden on the weak in order to make strong get a better deal. And this is what we are facing.
Yes.
And this is why the government is earning so much money in revenue while the poverty situation is increasing, and so does the hopelessness.
Yes.
You see,
Yes.
sometimes people don't look at things far enough. And this is why you get caught.
Yes.
Somebody is going to tell you that
Lush,
when they
hold a second. I think you have another phone line. I am getting I wanna can I call you on the other line?
yeah man, call me on the other line.
Let me call you on the other line.
You say?
You are not enough.
Hey!
Oh, Mema, oh, Mema, oh, Mema, oh, Mema, oh, Mema, oh, Mema. You are not
If the rebel in me can touch the rebel in you, and the rebel in you can touch a rebel in me, and the rebels we be is gonna set us free. Then it will bring out the rebel, bring out the rebel, bring out the rebel in me. If the lover in you can touch the lover in me, and the lover in me can touch a lover in you, and the lovers we be will bring sweet harmony. Then it will bring out the love, bring out the love, bring out all the love in me. My love is deeper than the ocean. Our love is in need of sweet devotion. Come on, because you got the portion to bring out the love in me, and I will bring out the love in you. Let the lover in you touch the lover in me, and the rebel in me will touch a rebel in you, and the lovers we be will bring sweet harmony. Then it will bring out the love, bring out
Yes. Sorry for that delay, that break. Lucia, you're back with us, right? Hello?
Hello?
Okay, yes. So as you were saying, no.
Yes, as I was saying,
Yes.
what we are getting is the result of the policy adopted. When they try to confuse the people, when they made the adjustment to the tax, and when they were told denied it, try to use another system to get back the money. But again, it is all that rejuggling that is really creating the confusion.
Yes. So, as as I said when we just started, that the $13,000, it's a move in the right direction. I must say that, but it is still a small amount for the workers at the bottom. I don't know what happened. I lost Lush again. I don't know what is happening here. Yes, Lush, I lost you a while ago. And he's gone again.
In me, if the lover in you can touch the lover in me, and the lover in me can touch the lover in you, and the lovers we be will bring sweet harmony.
Yes, Lush, let us speak on this line, because I don't know, I keep losing you on that one. So, hold a second.
My love is deeper than the ocean. Our love is in need of sweet devotion. Come on,
Yes.
because you got the portion.
Yes, welcome back, Lush. So, as I said, that the $13,000 is a step in the right direction, but it is still a small amount of money based on our cost of living. But what impact you think this will have on employers? Is it some employers? Do you see that this could impact? It could result in loss of jobs? I am not hearing you now at all. Hello? Hello?
Because you got the notion to bring out the love in me, and I will bring out the love in you. Let the rebel in me touch the rebel in you, and the rebel in you will touch the rebel in me, and the lovers we be will bring sweet harmony. Then it will bring out the love, bring out the love, bring out all the love in us. Bring out the love. Said I want to bring out the love. Bring out the love. Said I want to bring out the love. Bring out.
So, yes, Lush, sorry for that break. I was asking.
Yes.
I was asking if there any possibility from your end where you see there could be, if the increase in the minimum wage could result in loss of jobs because employers can't afford to pay. Do you see any possibility?
I don't think there will be much of that. The place where it is likely to have the biggest impact is with the household helpers. But that situation has sort of been adjusting itself over a period where most people now only employ household helpers, whether 2 days or whatever for the week. But the rate at which they are paid allow them to earn far more than even the 13,000 that is on the table now.
Yeah.
So I do not think it is going to have, and the new rate is going to have any deleterious impact on employment.
Okay.
I doubt it.
Yes. Well, as we
But
yeah, go ahead.
no, what I'm saying is that what is the real humbug in the system is that the policy of trying to give with one hand and take back with the other is what was implemented, and which end up with people who didn't get any relief as far as the tax threshold is concerned, were asked to pay taxes in order to allow some people who were getting better pay than them to get the tax relief that they got. The result is that you have increased the burden on those with the least ability to carry the weight.
Yes.
And hence, you are having what you are having now with the increased criminality and hopelessness for far too many people in the society.
Okay. Yes. And as we speak, you know that the workers in the public sector, let me put it this way, there's a certain amount of restiveness on the labor front, because workers in the bauxite industry, they threatened to go on strike today. And as a matter of fact, I know that the Ministry of Labor issued a back to work order yesterday. There is also problems with the security guards. Some teachers have not been paid. And there are complaints from almost all the workers who have been paid under the new trade pact. Yes.
Yes.
So
Are you surprised?
no, I am not surprised based on how the negotiations were conducted. I am not.
There was never in the negotiation.
Yes.
Ministry of Finance put forward their proposal and tell them they must accept it by a certain date, and stipulated that if they didn't agree, the consequence would be that they couldn't get anything being considered until 24, 25. And the trade unions that agreed and signed off without getting clarity on the whole situation are to be held responsible, because they did not demand to see what are you asking me to sign on, and the consequence of it is simple arithmetic. That if you have a certain portion of your salary in allowances which are not taxable,
Yes.
and you roll in those non-taxable things into your salary and put on 20% on that, for most people it's going to carry you into a taxable situation.
Yes, of course.
And consequently, when the minister told them that they were going to get 20% increase on everything added on, without stopping to tell them that the arithmetic of it means that for a lot of people, they wouldn't end up with 20% increase anyway. And for some people, they are going to end up in a very bad situation. It is the union's business to clarify those with the minister before they sign.
Yes.
But they sign in a hurry because they figure that getting something now and then we can go and talk about something later on. And the minister knows what he's doing, and he gets them to sign, and now they're at his mercy.
Well,
The truth is that they should never have signed. I must commend the teachers, the president of the Jamaica Teachers Association, that refused to sign the document.
yes.
Although they said that 70% of the teachers had agreed.
Yes.
She said that the thing had not made sense, and these things must be clarified. So if somebody else wants to sign it, I agree with her, and she has been proven right. Because now that they get the money on their hand, they realize that they don't get what they were expecting, and hence the disappointment.
Yeah, but there is one point that as it relates to the public sector workers, the unions are saying that, for example, the ministry decided to withdraw increments, and that was not agreed on. So that decision was taken unilaterally. And I heard the unions saying that some of the issues that they are seeing now, the workers are reporting to them, real salaries, those were not agreed on. So the changes that the workers are seeing on their paychecks are on the grievance, those are unilateral decisions taken by the Ministry of Finance.
I don't know if they are unilateral.
Yes.
I think they were deceptively presented to a union that was in too much of a hurry to reach an agreement, rather than get clarity in what you are signing to.
Yes.
You see, what got a lot of people excited was this thing that nobody is going to be left behind, and you are going to get 20% on everything added on.
Yeah.
Now, if they had promised them 20% on their basic salary, it would be arithmetically more, it would be arithmetically less than 20% on everything added together.
Yeah.
But
that is 20% over 3 years, you know. It wasn't 20.
Well, but the thing starting from now.
Yes.
When you add it off and you step over into tax threshold, and the tax is taking out 25% out of everything above the 1.5. It means that some people are going to get shafted real hard.
Yes.
But in their hurry to reach an agreement to get a money, people signed. And after you have signed, this is why the minister had the nerve to tell them that it's not a deduction, it's a reconciliation. And the reconciliation, that is the effect. In other words, he is telling them that them don't pay attention to what them agreed to.
Yes.
And their unions have committed them. So these people must know what to demand of those people who signed something which leaves them in a net worse position.
Yes. And
the minister's objective is clear enough. His objective is to get them at the lowest possible price, whether they understand what they signed to or not.
Yes. And the other point, Lucius, is this, that the senior civil servants and the politicians We don't know how much they are going to get because they are part of this agreement, you know. Their salaries are included, you know. So the senior civil servants, and what I have observed so far, though, the senior workers, their paycheck is quite significant, because when you look at what the principals are getting compared to what the classroom teacher is getting, you will see the significant difference. And it is across the board. The senior civil servants, they are going to be getting significant increases. And the member of parliament, the politicians, their salaries are going up. We have not heard by how much. This is something, one union leader told me that in some cases, they were getting increases up to over 100%, the senior civil servants over the 3-year period. So those at the top are going to be okay, while the rank and file workers remain in a struggling position.
But if those at the top are the ones who did the signing off on behalf of everybody, don't it?
The union sign on behalf of their members, right?
And those union members, those union representatives, were always at the top of the pool. So, in other words, it could be termed as a big sellout. They become beneficiary, and the workers they represent become victims.
The trade unions are not employed, but so you couldn't describe them that way. The trade union leaders, they are not.
It's the people that sign I'm talking about. The people who sign.
Yeah, the trade unions
what did they see and agree?
The trade unions sign on behalf of their members, which are mostly rank and file workers.
Yes.
Yes.
And are they beneficiary? I mean, are they benefiting from what is going on? Are they become victims?
Well, that is what I'm trying to tell you, that they are victims because they are complaining now about the salary when they look at their paychecks. And the unions are saying that this is not what we agreed on.
So, well, if the union know that is not what they agree on, then they must know what to do.
Well,
as far as I know, the laws of Jamaica still give workers the right to use industrial action.
yes.
So if the employer, who happen to be the government, is imposing conditions which are not agreed upon, then the workers must use the powers given to them by the law of the land.
Yes. Well, that's what that is why I said the workplace right now is
the unrest will continue.
Yes.
Because obfuscation and deception succeeded over reality.
Yes.
And when reality comes home, when you get your paycheck, a man can always give you some argument. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you start hearing about a logarithm. Don't tell me something. You're doing payroll for people every month with donkey years. And if you give an increase, all kind of confusion.
Really?
If you're giving an increase, it's simple arithmetic.
Yes.
And once you hear people start to give you argument and justification and clarification, that is obfuscation to deceive.
Yes, yes.
One man was getting $20 and you're promising 20%. So all right, I'm going to get $24.
Yes.
It's not simple arithmetic.
Yes, yes.
When you go and I'm going to tell him all kind of explanation, and when he end up, instead of get $24, he might have get 22, or remain up with 19.
Yeah.
Then not tricky card business that.
Well, let us see how it work out, because these are issues which, as I said, could lead to other problems. So I
Well,
want to,
one of the things that is going to happen is that a number of good people in the system will become so frustrated by what has happened and dull their hope and expectation to get honesty from the system that they will well use their feet
okay.
and leave whether it be teaching or leave the country where they will be better compensated and more regarded. And all this need not have happened if one was honest and say, well, look, this is what we can afford and this is what we are offering, and you negotiate around that. But instead, you project to the people this wonderful gift of 20%. And when the reality come home, you have to come with all kind of argument about a logarithm.
Okay.
With a logarithm, it's a arithmetic you want.
Okay.
And if it can't work out that if a man can't work out, know that him get an increase, and the increase is this percent, then what the hell is all about?
Yeah.
Somebody's being dishonest, and it is the impatience of those who were supposed to look after the workers' interest to hurry into signing so as to be in good grace with the Ministry of Finance, that they end up with this situation.
Yeah. All right, Lush. I want to thank you very much. And
All right, let's see.
we have to continue this discussion. Let us hope that they can meet and iron out the problems. Thanks very much.
Right, you're good.
Yes. That was our public commentator, Mr. Lucius White, and we're talking about what is happening at the workplace. All is not well there at all. The workers have issues with their salaries. So let us see how they work it out. We want to now talk about the ganja industry. That is one area, one industry that we need to ensure that the workers get, the farmers there get what is due to them, right?
Yes, good afternoon, Rebel Radio.
Yes, and this is Mr. Paul Burke, and we want to continue. Last week we had a discussion on the ganja industry, and we want to continue it this week. So, Mr. Burke, when we spoke the last time, you were outlining some of what is happening in the industry, and the fact that I recall you saying something that based on all the rules now, the rules are hampering, preventing the traditional ganja farmer from participating in the industry. You want to enlighten us on that?
All right, good afternoon again. So, as you know, the gazetted law came into place in April 2015. That is now 8 years ago.
Yes.
We planted the first ganja plant of UWI under that new law on the 20th of April 2015, coinciding with 420 Day, which is the International Ganja Celebration Day. The actual law was passed in Parliament in February 2015, just 2 months before. But as you know,
Yes.
it has to be gazetted before it comes into force.
Mm-hmm.
We were very disappointed that it was still being called the Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act. And at that seminar, we spoke to it, but the regulations were not ready So we were still very enthusiastic because even though it was called the Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act, it was going to decriminalize small possessions so that no longer police could round up youths indiscriminately and lock them up for a spliff.
Yes.
It was going to remove automatically the criminal records of thousands of Jamaicans who were prevented from sometimes seeking a visa, going on a farm work ticket, working in the industrial security industry. And if you wanted to work at the airport, I mean, I come from East Kingston, you operate out there, many young people had to get a police record. And if they'd been caught with a spliff, could not get it. So we were very enthusiastic about the new law. And we expected that one of the things we were going to give an opportunity to starting with the small farmers,
Yes.
because we wanted the industry to grow ground up, from the bottom up, ground up. And before that, we've been advocating for a moratorium that you would incorporate existing ganja farmers, give them an amnesty,
Yes.
and give them time to meet the requirements. We did not have any imagination that it was going to require 8-foot fence, CCTV cameras, security, the type of licensing fees. We had no imagination that that was what we would be seeing
Yes.
in the industry. That you'd have to own your piece of land, have title for it. Now you know, Desmond, that people grandfather leave them land that have been on for generations. And sometimes it's willed, sometimes it's not willed. And because you don't want to pay the land tax and the trouble to pay legal fees, you don't regularize it.
Right.
Everybody in the community know is Mass Brown land that.
Yes.
Everybody know. But although you're on your grandfather's land or on your father's land, you would not be able to plant it because you don't have a title.
That is
Not
what
only are you
that is
but
what
title.
exists now.
Yeah, right now. Unless the matter is being probated, right? Where you can show that you are part of the will. And that's another whole process.
Yes.
So for a small farmer, he'd have to go through that whole legal process, which is timely and sometimes costly, because you have to get a surveyor to survey the entire property to get the title, not just a piece you want to plant ganja on. So that was the first major obstacle to many of the would-be applicants.
Yes.
The second, if you had any conviction, apart from the one for small possession, so you had been found with a pound of ganja before, not even for export, not even, it could have been unpressed ganja. If you had committed yourself in a criminal offense 25 years ago, and you could get it expunged,
Yes.
broke somebody's shop or building, once you had that criminal record, you could not apply. Thirdly, CLA had what they call a due diligence process. I can tell you categorically, they turned down people. I would not tell them why they turned them down. So Desmond, imagine you applying. You have no criminal record. Everything else is in order. And you are told you have an adverse possession. And you cannot be told what is your adverse possession.
No, and that
I don't know that they are as stringent today, but that is how they started.
Yes.
And that is an undeniable fact. Right? I had to write them,
yes.
when my thing was being tough. And so I hope it's not reverse political discrimination. And I was assured it wasn't. And I had some other issues with titling, etc., etc. But I want to know about my due diligence. Right? Because I don't say to you, you have passed your due diligence or you have failed your due diligence. And if you have failed it, they don't tell you why.
Yes.
And again, I repeat this because this has been the kind of Gestapo type behavior by the CLA in the past. I do not know if they are still as stringent as they were.
Right.
I used to make the point, Desmond, repeatedly, that I used to own a security company. And I had 40 firearms. Yes, I had them in a safe, and yes, I had a guard there. But I had to go through the fencing and the CCTV camera and all of those things. People store hazardous chemicals in this country. One of them burned down about 5 years ago and created a problem. They don't have to go through all those regulations.
Yes.
But if you want to have a retail outlet, let me tell you, you have to have a camera to go in, and you have to have every part of the room. So if you have a 18 by 18, you probably need 3 cameras in the room. When you're leaving, you need a camera outside. And if you have a whole part space outside the mall to say who is coming in, etc. Mm-hmm. You have to have at least a 3 MP camera. Then inside your safe. And in my case, I had to put a grill door in front of it, and inside of the safe, they wanted another camera. Not wanted, they insisted on another camera. Every camera is costly,
Of course, I know it is costly. So what you have just outlined, Paul, is that all of those requirements, and I'm talking about the traditional ganja farmer in Jamaica, can't meet all of those.
It wasn't meant for him.
No.
The industry was never, because they truly, when they put the regulations in. Now, when the law was passed, the regulations came out in June 2016, but they had started from before. I've always said that the PNP government made some mistakes, and the JLP administration took over in March 2016, February 2016, went down the same bad road. Mm-hmm. Jampro brought in a company called Botec, former DEA agents to guide them on the regulations. Let me say this to you. I met with them at Jampro, and myself, the then president of the Ganja Growers and Producers Association, Orville Silvera, and vice president, now President Richard Crawford, we walked out to the meeting. They were talking about a quota that Jamaica need to grow more than 12,000 pounds a year. They wanted that only a few. Remember, the taxi industry started where it was hard to get a red plate?
Yes.
Very hard, and eventually it was liberalized, and you got rid of basically the robot taxi. They wanted a kind of exclusive privilege industry, corporate type.
Yes.
That is what regulations wanted. Yeah, they spoke about, yes, the small farmer could pay, they could waive the $500 application fee for the small farmer. Mm-hmm. And they could work out, well, not waive with a payment plan, right? Mm-hmm. The application fee. So let me tell you, the thing just started badly. And it was led by a lot of technocrats who never understood the ganja industry, who still had it in their mind that this is a dangerous thing,
Yes.
Because, Desmond, imagine, it must be something that make you mad, Imagine in the 1950 and 60, some man I tell you, they want to go back to Africa. Then said to them, look towards a black king. They must burn the Pope, quite rightly. They must burn the Queen of England, quite rightly. They're not in a Babylon, right? I'm going to tell you what Babylon is. They must smoke herb. No mad people that.
Yes, of course. Yes. So
no mad.
Yeah.
And they must call police beast and Babylon.
Yes.
Right? And they must talk about going back to Africa, a jungle, a desolate place. The only time you see it in the Gleaner is in the Tarzan comics in the morning and Phantom.
Yes. So the regulations were clearly, they were designed to as a matter of fact, you can see, as you rightly say a while ago, that they still have the ganja as a dangerous drug, and therefore, these regulations were put in place to deal with that dangerous drug. And that is why I said that I think that the industry now must become part of the agricultural industry. So ganja now must be seen and treated as an agricultural plant, just like planting our bananas or yam or potato, right? That is
the only way to really make the industry attractive, competitive, affordable, inclusive. You are absolutely correct. You need to, I believe, you need to have a register of all ganja plantations, right? Because it is a medicinal plant.
Yes.
Right? But it must be just like our man get a license to drive a car, he get a license to plant ganja. Right?
Yes, sir.
Let him know, based on his license, I have a private license, I can't drive truck.
Yes.
I can't drive crane. So you buy a license, you want a half acre. Government must make some money out of it too.
Yes, of course.
But it must be the most affordable
Yes.
thing. Right? And this whole thing about this whole expense, you know that the cost of security guards must rise because that long overdue legislation that guards are to be employees and they must get all the benefits
Yes.
of employees from employers must set up the cost of guards in this country.
Yes, of course.
The CLA requires you, if you are over an acre, I think you can get away, and I need to refresh my memory. If you're under an acre, I think you can get, no, you still need a guard or watchman, right? But whatever it is, you can't watch your own property, You have to employ a security company to watch your property.
No, man, no.
And that cost. And if you're over an acre, you have to now pay for backup services. That is the panic alarm and backup services. Now, that itself makes it impossible for the small player, the traditional farmer who built the Jamaican ganja industry, who had his field burnt down, locked up in 18 months, who would put boot and baton many times when he was caught. Right? Boot and baton. Many never really benefited because it's the smugglers, the middleman who made the money.
Yes.
And sometimes the smugglers broke them foot, take them herb, upon consignment, and tell them say get boss. Sometimes you get boss going abroad. But enough time is a small man. Right? And the amount they have done well to build their houses, to send their children to school. And they want to come in, just like how most of the robot taxi men want you to get them red plate. Right? And went and and many of them are good, responsible taxi drivers. Yes, some of them are irresponsible and careless and broke road code. But you don't punish the good for the bad.
No, sir. No. And it's, but Paul, when they were crafting the regulations for the industry, did they invite? What role did the small farmers and the ganja industry? What role did they? Did they play a role in helping?
All right. Let me say this to you. On the CLA board, the CLA was not supposed to be policymakers. They're supposed to be a regulated industry. We got 2 members of the association on the board. We had our president, Orville Silveira, and one of our executive members who went there in his own right, not as a member of the Ganja Growers and Producers Association, but a representative of Rastafari.
Yes.
There were two Rastafari on the board, IOV and well, we had more than that because we had Professor Archie McDonald was also on the board. And I don't think because they had some subcommittees
Yes.
who were looking at the security thing. And I don't know when they moved up the ante and put in all of those stringent regulations. But we had always said, I remember what a meeting at the PCJ auditor. Oh, geez. This is long forgotten. Maria Deans had just died, beaten in the Ocho Rios police station, I believe. Held for a spliff.
Yes.
Could not get bail. And we did two things. Both issued a statement about that. We had the laws not passed it enough.
Yeah.
And saying repeatedly, wrote the PNP government of ministers repeatedly, establish a 2-year, at that time we wanted just even a 1-year moratorium to fast track the industry. We could not convince them. They said they wanted to start it right. And then on the 25th of February, that PNP administration lost power. There was no further consultation with the ganja growers. In fact, perhaps because I was branded, or I didn't bring any partisan politics into the ganja growers, we had prominent people who supported the JLP in the ganja growers and even on our executive.
Yes.
For one, Delana Seavright was in charge of our PR.
Oh.
Former president of G2K.
Yes.
He was in charge of our public relations. He was there. We had other former G2K members which he brought in, and they played very good service. They supported the work of the Ganja Growers and Producers Association. But after the election, we were sidelined, and people were encouraged to start all kind of other associations. All of them faltered, every single one of them. And only the GGPAJ was left standing.
Yes, yes. Right. So as we speak right now, the Ganja Association, I think, or let me ask you, is the association preparing, a position?
We did, and I should have shared it with you, and I apologize, and we sent it out to all our stakeholders, right? And it was sent out to the media. I know the president of that association was on the media. So we sent it out, and we're about to update it.
Yes.
That was mainly in response to the importation of ganja from Canada, which 7 years ago when the law, 8 years ago when the law was passed, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 1 year ago, you'd have said it was impossible for ganja to come in or need come in from Canada.
Yes.
But let me tell you why that happens. Most of the cultivators are out of business. The government and the CLA don't want to tell you that. Many of them who have license have shrunk, right? And they have scaled back. Scaled back totally.
Okay.
So if you are in the industry, the few that are playing, the price is very high. You can't buy from the normal ganja farmer, Let me tell you how the thing operates. You have to go to what the CLA has as a tripartite. So, Desmond, you have to be licensed. For me, who have a licensed retail outlet to buy from you.
Okay.
And you have to sign a 3-way agreement called a tripartite agreement. And the CLA has to get all the details, including the vehicle moving it, the driver's license, the insurance, registration, everything, your your tax compliance certificate. Every detail has to be there.
Oh,
And then I drive to your place or you drive to my place. The CLA is there. I'm buying 5 pounds of ganja from you. You hand it to the CLA. I hand my check or money to the CLA. The CLA, you can hand it to me directly, you know.
no, but I don't. So I don't understand
You
that.
can't hold on. Stop. I'm telling you what the requirements are.
Yes.
Not what should be, what could be, what should be. I'm telling you what they are. So you have a licensed ganja cultivation. And the CLA rep is there. And you're required to give them 14 days notice, although they've been far more facilitatory now. Sometime within a week. They've been far more facilitating right now. And they come and you hand over your 5 pounds of ganja to the CLA rep. He inspects it, he weighs it, he seals it. You can also look on it at the same time, but not touch it. You then turn over your check or your cash to the CLA rep. The CLA rep gets a receipt from you, and he collects that receipt and turns over to me. And I sign a receipt, weighed 5 pounds. The CLA rep now drives all the way behind me to Negril, where I'm located. All the way to Negril behind me. I have to have a armed security guard in the vehicle. I'm traveling with the 5 pounds. An armed security guard and a driver. And they drive that to Negril, and before it goes into my safe, the CLA weighs it again, you know, even though they are driving right behind me.
Yes.
You see that it's 5 pounds, and they sign necessary documentation. I take possession of the 5 pounds, and I lock it up in my safe, and it now belongs to me. That is the process.
No boy. So obviously, that is that everything that you have said. They are the evidence that you are dealing with high, dangerous drugs. Because I don't know if all those precautions are taken when you are buying arms. If you are buying, if you have a
If you're
security,
buying if you're buying 2 pounds of ganja, you have to have an armed security guard, you know. Let's got it, you know. If you're buying 1 pound, you have to have an armed security guard, you know.
no man,
So you understand the additional.
There's need for changes, man. Changes. We need to break down.
The want to follow you is one thing, you know. Right? I could understand if you're buying 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds. But you're buying 1 pound?
Yes. And we need changes, man. This is not the ganja industry in Jamaica is an indigenous industry. Indigenous, and what we have in place here now, this is designed to drive away the indigenous planters, keep them out. And you know,
Tell you though, I want to tell you, many of them are doing very well in the unregulated industry.
but
That is the industry flourishing.
but of course, because what exists now, it is dry. What it does, one of the things that I'm sure it is doing, is to drive the unregulated industry.
It has what the Californians call the gray market.
Yes.
It is flourishing in Jamaica.
Yes, because
Let me tell you, why should you buy ganja out of a dispensary as a Jamaican at 4 times the price? Right? You go in there, you have to give identification, you have to sign card, you have to go through a form and fill up. You have to go on CCTV camera. Why should you go through that when you can go to your corner, down the road, and buy your herb
The-
and get it at 1/4 the price. And very good stuff. Sometimes more variety and better quality than what you get in the regulated legal ganja shops.
Yeah. Paul, I want to tell you that we have to continue. We have to continue this discussion because, listen, we have to do, Rebel Radio is willing to play its part in order to liberalize the ganja, the industry. We want rules, you know. We want
But
rules.
I want to talk to some of the other players,
Yes,
get their experiences. In other words, I don't want my view only.
right.
And there are some people who will talk to you
Yes,
who are in the unregulated industry because they can trust you,
yes,
without having to reveal their name or where they're. But, and would have gone in happily into the regulated industry.
yeah. Yes, I am going to make some effort to contact as many players as possible. And
I can help you with some of them, but you are a man on the ground.
yes,
You know some of them directly.
yeah.
But I can assist quietly.
I will.
So
I
you
will.
need to get other views and speak to the experience of people who have been beaten, locked up, brutalized, prosecuted, persecuted, have criminal record, suffered.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a reformist, but there are those who are part of the resistance, who made sacrifices and felt the pain to keep ganja alive in Jamaica.
Of course. Paul, I want to thank you very much for your contribution this afternoon. And as I said, to be continued.
Thank you for allowing me to share.
No problem, Pablo. Yes, that was Mr. Paul Burke, and we were talking about the ganja industry. We have to do something to liberalize the industry. We can't. How it is operating now is totally unacceptable. Let us go for a break. Coming up next is Be Sure.
Test say you're not happy, you can still get the virus. So keep the numbers down. Protect yourself and the people around. COVID in town, 6 feet apart and 6 feet in the ground. Keep the numbers down. Protect yourself and the people around. COVID in town, 6 feet apart and 6 feet in the ground. Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. Hey, it's a girl Shensia with a message to you from myself and the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Shen Yangs, everyone say wear a mask, let the numbers drop. I don't want COVID, lay you down flat. Nose and mouth, you fi cover up that. Sanitize or get hospitalized. Fight the virus, then fight for your life, yeah. Nobody talk about say you no response no more. Don't be reckless, cause your test say you're not happy, you can still get the virus from somebody. Don't be reckless, cause your test say you're not happy, you can still get the virus. So keep the numbers down, protect yourself and the people around. COVID in town, 6 feet apart and 6 feet in the ground. Keep the numbers down, protect yourself.
Oh Lord my God, when I'm in awesome wonder, consider all thy works thy hand doth make. I see the stars, I hear the mighty thunder, thy power throughout the universe display. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When through the woods, the forest glades I wander, and hear the birds sing sweetly in the trees. When I look down from lofty mountain grandeur and hear the brook and feel gentle breeze. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Of God, His Son not sparing, sent Him to die. I scarce can take it in. Then on the cross, my burden gladly bearing, He bled and died to take my sins away. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. That sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, Almighty God, how great thou art.
The station with the artist station with the artist music. The station with the artist station with the artist music.
Just believe right now, and He'll do it again. You may be down and feel like God has somehow forgotten, yeah, that you are faced with circumstances so hard to get through. Right now it seems there's no way out, and you're going under. Yeah, God's proven time and time again, He'll take care of you, and He'll do it again. He'll do it again. Just take a look where you were now and where you have been. He always come through for you. He's the same now as then. So you may not know how, may not know when, but He'll do it again. God knows the things you're going through. He knows that you're hurting. He sees and knows just how your heart has been broken into. But He is God, God of the stars, the sand and the seas. He is the one who will take care of you, and He'll do it again. He'll do it again. Just take a look where you are now. you're hurting. He sees and knows just how your heart has been broken in two. But he is God, God of the stars, the sand and the seas. He is the one who will take care of you, and he'll do it again. He'll do it again. Just take a look where you are now, where you have been.
Oh, yes. Welcome back to Rebel Radio. And it's time for our weekly program, Be Sure. And we have with us our insurance salesman, Mr. Lloyd Brim, veteran insurance salesman. Lloydie?
I'm here. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. And I think this week we want to discuss the whole issue of investing in how does one go about investing in himself. We want to, dig deeper into the concept of how does one protect himself using the insurance formula. So go ahead and tell us how we go about doing that.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you and your listeners. One thing we want to be sure when we're talking about investment is investment wants us to be prepared for eventualities. And like you say, man.
Listen, I want you talk some more into the phone. You are going in and out.
I am saying,
Yes, talk like that.
when we're talking about investing, it means we want to be prepared for eventualities. And the investment is an income when we are away, when we are going about other issues.
I don't know why your voice keep going down, and I don't know why.
We want to be sure that when certain situations am I clear?
You are still going in and out. Sometimes I am hearing you clear, and then your voice just drop down. I don't know.
I am saying
Yes.
we want to be sure when situations arise, we can take care of the situation. And investing in your own education and investing in your children's education is important.
Lady, you want to change your position from where you are now, but I think I am having a problem hearing you clearly.
Tell me now, who is it?
Yeah, yes, go ahead there now.
Yes, I am saying
Yes.
the concept of investing is the program says to be prepared. Yeah, okay. with that now.
You're still not clear. You need
All right, you want to
let us take a break and you move from where you are. All right, because I'm not hearing you clearly.
Okay.
Yeah.
spirit, sent him to die. I scarce can take it in. Then on the cross, my burden gladly bearing, he bled and died to take my sins away. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, Almighty God, how great thou art. I need you, Lord, right now. Yeah, yeah. I must tell Jesus all of my trials. I cannot bear these burdens alone. In my distress, He kindly will help me. He ever loves and cares for His own. I must tell Jesus. I must tell Jesus. I cannot be. My burdens alone. I must tell Jesus. I must tell Jesus. Jesus can help me. Only Jesus alone.
Yes, welcome back. And we are talking to veteran insurance salesman Lloyd Brim. Lloyd, are you there now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yes, I'm hearing you clearly now. So you were saying, you were outlining to us how does one go about investing in himself via insurance.
Well, Desmond, there are so many ways to look at it. But let me start by saying we all invest to give us a greater ability to deal with situations that demand long-term spending, and education is one of those. Now, the first thing we have to look at is you, the person who is buying the insurance. You're buying the insurance so that when the time comes for the expenditure, the money is there. There is no guarantee that when that time comes, you will be here to put that money over to be spent and so on. And that's what investing in ourselves is about. If you are investing in yourself, it means you want to be able to meet those educational expenses. All expenses, but we're focusing on education now. And the life insurance industry provides some policies that are ideal to meet this requirement. For example, one policy that you can get dedicated to education, it has the feature of insuring the child for a set amount of money. Let us say $10 million. And that insurance carries room for a lump sum payout at a particular age, like the age when you're going into college, the age when you have gone 2 years in college, and a final amount in your final year in college. Now, the purpose that this is bought for is to guarantee the release of these lump sums at the set times, to give the young person who just finished going through the college course, to ensure that they too, your investment continues beyond that, because it allows the insurance company to increase the coverage from 10 million to like 2.5 times that when the person starts working, let's say age 21. What privilege will this provision give the life assured? It's going to make sure the money is there to pay the school fees, the exam fees, the boarding fees, all that is required to take them through college. But it also carries a feature that when they're out into the work world and they are looking forward now to getting mortgage, to getting financing to start a business, the insurance coverage needed to allow them to qualify for these loans, that will be there on that educational policy that was bought from childhood.
Okay.
So you see, what we're looking at when we're talking about investing, we're looking at the journey through to graduation. That journey is finished, and we're stepping the first step with this person, helping them to qualify for mortgages, helping them to qualify for loans, helping them to qualify for any business transaction that requires life insurance coverage.
Okay.
That's the journey for the education by buying a specific plan. But you, as the person who is buying the plan, we spoke last time about what we call waiver of premium. You can predecease the child. If you predecease the child, then the provisions are there that the insurance company will trigger the waiver of premium clause, which means the insurance company will pay the premiums for the rest of the life of the policy. At whatever age the life assured would start paying premiums on their own, the company will carry the premiums for that period of time until when that date comes. The student takes over. Student now turned employee takes over the payment.
Yes, yes. Now, what about health insurance?
No, that is also critical, Desmond, because that could be a clause, that could be a condition that arises during the life of the payer of the policy, called the proposer. During that person's lifetime, doing that, they can fall ill and they can come into what the insurance companies provide called critical insurance. So the critical coverage insurance there, of course, would provide lump sum payments that will help the life assured, or the proposer, I should say, help the proposer to get lump sum payments that help them to continue paying the premiums, help them to overcome the health challenge and can get back to full employment. It also represents, when we say that we're talking about investment, it also represents an investment. How does a health plan represent an investment? When you buy your life insurance, the health aspect of it, you are making sure that if critical illness issues arise, they can be taken care of, and that's really an expensive that's an expensive service. And that critical illness concept has to do with your life being at risk. You are so sick that doctors many times doubt whether or not you will recover. Whether or not you do, it represents large cash demands. And that's where insurance does an excellent job. When large sums of money are required, you have the appropriate insurance policy with the appropriate features to release money, and that's what it does when the situation arises. Now, what does the health insurance provide? You have two types of insurance policies. You have what you get at work, which is called the group health insurance. And you as an individual, independently,
Hello? I don't know why Prim just go away.
I was searching for the truth night and day. Yeah. Never gave up on the faith. I stayed strong. I never gave in. And he was there just in time to rescue me. He was there just in time to rescue me. He was there just in time to rescue me. Have you suffered a broken heart?
just for himself or for his family and himself.
Yes, back with you now, Brim. I'm back with you.
Yes, I was saying
Yes.
before we fell off
Yes.
that in the health insurance comes, let's say, at two levels. The group insurance, which is for the general workforce, or the individual self-employed person can buy his own individual health insurance for himself and his family. At work, with the group insurance, you can also buy the insurance if you are a single person, just for yourself. If you are a couple, just for husband and wife. And if you are a family, you can buy the health insurance just the same. And the amount you are asked to pay will depend on what your take is. Man alone, woman alone. Man and woman. Man, woman, and one child. Man, woman, and two children. It is broken down like that. And the rate you pay goes accordingly.
Okay.
If you are self-employed, you pay it all. If you are with a company and you are on the group insurance plan, the company pays a part, you pay a part. And this is the one where you get a card. When you go to the medical facility, the first thing you are asked, do you have health insurance?
Yes.
If you have health insurance, then it's a different rate that you have to pay right there at the desk. Because the card that you have
You produce the card, and the nurse or the secretary sitting at the desk will say, okay, it's your first visit. First visit is 7,000. But because you have a card, you will only pay 4,500, 4,000, 5,000, depending on what your card pays, what percentage your card pays.
Okay.
So right now, it's a saving for you each time you access the service. You go see the doctor, you are sent to the lab. The card, the health card with the rates, the amounts, or the percentages, the health card. At the lab, you are again asked if you have a health card. And the answer is yes, you produce it, and there's a savings there again. And for each facility that you go to the pharmacy. As you got a health card, health insurance. Yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Ma'am, you produce it. Oh, ma'am, check it. This prescription is $11,525. But with your card, instead of paying $11,500, you'll pay $6,000, $5,000, $7,000. So all of these reductions that you get when you use the services, to my mind, and in reality, reflects the result of an investment, and you're reaping as you go along. You don't have to wait until age 25 or retirement or so to reap that particular investment. So we have investment in education, which we just spoke about, and we're also just explaining now the investment returns when we are using health insurance. You might be amazed to know that as the people who take the product to the customers, you would be amazed to hear some terms that people use to tell you why they're not buying life insurance, why they're not buying health insurance, why they're not providing any educational plan for their children.
Mm-hmm.
You would really be amazed, you know.
Share some of those with us, no?
Well, one of the reasons people sometimes tell is that their parent never provide anything for them.
Oh my.
That's what some people say. I don't know if you ever heard that put forward. That my father or my parent never sent me to school, so I am not making any provision.
Yeah, I've never really heard that, but
the people that we're really aiming at, the people who want to get into business with, these are the people who look for generational advancement. These are the people we're looking for to make into customers. These are the people who want their children to be at another level from them, the parents. They want them to have generational wealth. They want them to have better education. They want them to live a better life than their parent than them who's providing for their children. But some people, they carry, can I say, is revenge a suitable word here, Desmond?
I don't think they are the ones who make preparation to ensure that their children are better off than them. Because one of the things that you will hear frequently is that, boy, I don't want my youth them come suffer like me. Right?
Okay.
Right. And so the minority who take that view that, oh no, my parents didn't do anything for me, I think it is a lack of understanding why they conclude that way.
It's quite a number of people, probably because we are searching as service providers, as agents, maybe because we are searching for people who have the urge and the desire, not always having the ability 100%, but they have the desire to put their children one step ahead of the level that they are at. Probably because we are searching for those people, we're coming across a lot of the people who are not concerned about that. I don't know if sometimes it's a person's ego and they feel a bit, shall I say, embarrassed at not being able to do what they know they ought to do. They use a lot of red herring to, you know the term.
Yes.
Yes. But I tell you, Desmond, and I hope your listeners paying careful attention or even taking some notes, that excuses sometimes give people a feeling of comfort that, I'm not doing that and I'm not the only one, and that kind of approach. And with that excuse, they feel comfortable that, as we say in Jamaica, I mean, I provide for man enough. But it's not because the person don't know better. I guess sometimes the ability not there. But we searching every day for people who want to make these provisions. We find that a lot of people are never approached. They don't know that this service exists, and they gravitate to it real quickly. Some pretend that they know, but they're looking around the corner and they're blaming other people to say, well, this is trickery. I'm not putting my money there and not putting it under my bed, and all kind of ideas and excuses that really don't add up to anything. Bottom line, they don't make the provisions. And many times the children suffer.
Yes.
Can I add one more thing, Desmond?
Of course you can.
Looking at Anita along another line, we're talking about investing in yourself, in your children, and so on. But outside of insurance, you buy that on yourself. That is death and disability and so on. But there are a lot of scholarship funds that exist that I don't know how widespread it is. The insurance companies usually have scholarship programs, and the children of the policy holders can apply for these scholarships. And these scholarships now provide financing for the children going through high school. So another way to invest is to be informed. You are with me there, sir?
Yes, I'm listening to you.
If you are informed,
Yes.
then you will know where the scholarships are, and you would find out how to access them. Because you make a provision, but many times due to inflation, 10 years down the road from the start of making that provision, the provision is on the weak side when the time comes. Inflation, so on, helps to reduce the effectiveness. So to be sure, be informed as to the various scholarship programs, local and abroad, that can be accessed and help to boost the financial resource when the time comes.
Yes.
So I don't know if your station has any room to put put something on here to inform concerned parents about all of these various scholarships and how they can be assessed and so on. I believe you might have a section in the Ministry of Education. Your team can investigate that.
Mm-hmm. It is. Hello? It is something worthwhile for us to check on, to ensure that we have that in place. Brim, are you there? Look as if.
Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the hurt to the cross, the pain you bear, from the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the hurt to the cross, the pain you bear, from the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I'd love to sing your praises.
Yeah. Oh, welcome back again. Mr. Brim?
Yes, I am here.
Yes. I don't know what happened a while ago, where the interference came from, but you were telling us about some other form of how you were talking to us about scholarships.
Yes. For completeness, Desmond. You there?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
I am saying, I don't know where I got disconnected, because I was saying making the provision for the education of children coming up through high school, through college and so on.
Yes.
The insurance companies provide policies that attend to these. But for completeness, and to be sure, I was adding that due to inflation over the years, when a plan is put in place and the payments are due in 10 years' time, 12 years' time, and so, the payment as it was envisaged when the plan was being put in place, due to inflation, and so that sum of money might not be as adequate as it appeared when it started.
Mm.
So I was just saying that for completeness, people need to be informed about scholarships that can be had. And with these scholarships, it would come with financing of certain aspects of the program that the person is in.
Okay. Yes.
Rebel Radio, to me, is doing a respectable job. He's doing a wonderful job, a commendable job, by putting the life insurance information out. And like we're looking at education now, how the insurance product is used to make the provision. I am now at the point where I am saying, due to inflation, this payment down the road might need some top-up.
Okay.
So to be sure and to be complete, I am saying your station might want to complement this To Be Sure program with a program that gives information and scholarships that are available. Because lots of people are not aware that scholarships are available. They're not sure how to access them. If you could complement this program with one that provides that type of information, a section of the Ministry of Education might be able to help you. The insurance companies have scholarships. Companies give scholarships to the employees' children. The insurance company gives scholarships to the policyholders' children, starting from GSAT right up. But the information, just like the insurance information, is not as widespread as it should be. So I don't know if you call this a challenge or a suggestion, that you look into it, how you can complement it.
Yes, of course.
And the ministry might be a good place to start, and I might be able to give you some information.
Yes.
Outside of this program that could help.
Okay, sir. Yes, I think it's that is a valuable suggestion, and it's something that I think we should take up. But
look into it, and if there's any way I can help, let me know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But those are just two things we looked at. Where the education is concerned, how to invest in it. Some people, godparents, grandparents, uncles, other relatives, people who are, let us say, friends of the family, they can also help. Not only with providing an investment policy as a gift to a child, but they can also get stocks on the stock market for them.
Yes, yes.
Any asset that will multiply over time, they can use it to contribute to their goddaughters, granddaughters, nieces, nephews, adopted children, and all that. Because if you adopt a child, you can also buy the insurance for the child in this man.
Yes. Yes.
You
yes,
you
yes.
get up clearly?
Yes, yes, I understand that.
Your biological child.
Yes.
You can adopt the child, and you still have an insurable interest.
Right.
So it's important that we suggest, we put it out there, that if a listener wants to assist in providing for a child's education, and they hear us only talking about insurance, I wouldn't want them to go away and say, well, I don't have any insurable interest in the child, so I can't buy the insurance for the child.
Yes.
If they have that desire,
it is available.
An insurance agent or a financial planner, as we call them.
Yes.
And there are many other ways to supplement the insurance provision. So for completeness, the insurance agent can provide both the instrument and can also provide information and suggestions for the other people who are interested, but they can't buy insurance for the child. They don't have an insurable interest. there are other provisions.
Yes.
So we want to look at the investment, focusing on insurance, and then make these other suggestions that might be helpful and useful.
All right. Now, buying an insurance policy on one's life is also one way of investing in oneself. Am I right?
Buying an insurance?
Yeah, on one's life. So if I buy a policy on my life, that is also one way of investing in myself.
No, it's not the wrong way investing in yourself. Remember, investment is to empower you.
No, I'm saying that is also one way of investing in oneself.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the investment concept is to prepare you, to be prepared for the tough times when they come, to be prepared for opportunities when they come. Because sometimes the opportunity is there and you don't have the cash.
To take advantage. Yes, sir.
Your insurance policy can enhance your chances of doing that.
Yeah.
Wanting to make it clear, Desmond, absolutely clear. There are many ways to do this thing, and there are many ways to use your insurance policies, and there are many ways to be charitable. There's a whole section that speaks to charitable life insurance policies.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you very much for today's contribution, and to be continued next Monday.
Okay, sir. Thank you to you and your listeners, sir.
Yes, sir.
We'll be back with you on Monday next week.
You take very good care of yourself.
Thank you, sir. Bye now.
Yes, that was insurance salesman Lloyd Brim telling us how we can invest in ourselves and our children. We want to go for a break now. Coming up at 4, it will be workers' time. Let us go for a break.
How the heaven floods my soul in the stillness of the midnight. Precious sacred scenes unfold. Precious memories, unseen angels sent from somewhere to my soul. How they linger, ever near me, and the sacred pass unfold. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever floods my soul in the stillness of the midnight. Precious sacred scenes unfold. So precious memories, how they linger, how they ever floods my soul in the stillness of the midnight. Precious sacred scenes unfold. He gave me the victory. Many people doubt him, but I can't do without him. him. That is why I love him so. It's so real to me. Press along, saints, press along in God only. Press along, saints, press along in God already. A persecution we must bear, trial and crosses in our way. But the hotter the battle, the sweeter the victory. Oh, press along, saints, press along in God already. Press along, saints, press along in God already. A persecution we must bear, trial and crosses in our way. But the hotter the battle, the sweeter the victory. It's so bitter when troubles and trials. When I get home on the other side, I'm gonna shake my hands with the elders, tell all the people good morning. I'm gonna sit down beside my Jesus. I'm gonna sit down and rest a little while. 'Cause it's so bitter when troubles and trials. When I get home on the other side, I'm gonna shake my hands with the elders, tell all the people good morning. I'm gonna sit down beside my Jesus. I'm gonna sit down and rest a little while. Stand up and tell me if you love my Jesus. Stand up and tell me if you love my Lord. I want to know if you love my Jesus. I want to know if you love my Lord. Stand up and tell me if you love my Jesus. Stand up and tell me if you love my Lord. I want to know if you love my Jesus. I want to know if you love my Lord. I love that man from Galilee, for he has done so very much for me. He has taken all my sins and let the Holy Ghost come in. I love that man from Galilee. I love that man from Galilee, for he has done so very much for me. He has taken all my sins and let the Holy Ghost come in. I love that man from Galilee. So send down the rain, send down the rain.
It was the two of them interacted.
Send down the rain, send down the gospel rain. I beg you, send down the rain, send down the rain, send down the gospel rain. Send down the rain, send down the rain, send down the gospel rain. I want a revival in my soul. I want a revival in my soul. I must apply to the blood of Jesus. I want a revival in my soul. I want a revival in my soul. I want a revival in my soul.
Hello? Hello? I don't know.
What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. Angel bow down before him, heaven and earth adore him. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. serve. That's why I am determined to hold on till the end. Jesus is with me, on him I can depend. For I know I have salvation, I can feel it in my soul. I am determined to hold on till the end. I am determined to hold on till the end. Jesus is with me, on him I can depend. For I know I have salvation, I can feel it in my soul.
Okay, welcome back to Rebel Radio. I have Mrs. White, are you there? I don't know why I'm losing. I don't know why I'm losing these people. I don't know why I am losing them at all. I don't know.
I'm gonna leave this world, no more will I roam. Some sweet day when this life is over. Some sweet day I'm going away. You know what? Someday I'll go where Jesus is. Someday I'll go where Jesus is. Someday I'll go where Jesus is. I'll be called up to greet him, called up to meet him. I'll be called up to meet him in the end. Someday I'll go where Jesus is. Someday I'll go where Jesus is. Someday I'll go where Jesus is. I'll be called up to greet him, called up to meet him. I'll be called up to greet him. I am going home on the morning train. I am going home on the morning train, because the evening train is too late. So I am going home on the morning train. Oh, I am going home on the morning train. I am going home on the morning train, because the evening train is too late. So I am going home on the morning train, 'cause we shall have a grand time up in heaven. We shall have a grand time up in heaven, have a grand time, singing with the angels. Glory, hallelujah.
Yes, now it's time for Workers' Time on Rebel Radio. And we have with us this afternoon the president of the Mrs. Helen Davis White and the president of the UAW, Mr. Lambert Brown. Lady and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Yes.
Desmond. Afternoon, Lamin.
Hi, Ellen. Afternoon, Desmond, and afternoon to your listeners.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us. Now, as we speak, I detect some uneasiness at the workplace. I saw the teachers are complaining, policemen are complaining, other public sector workers are complaining, the bauxite workers at UC Russell are restive, the security guards are upset, Mrs. White, what am I seeing? In other words, are my observations correct?
Yeah, well, at this point in time, there are pockets of restiveness on the labor relations scene. You correctly pointed out that there are several public sector workers who are disgruntled over the conversions and what they're receiving coming out of this compensation restructuring. And you also have in private sector various places that are experiencing problems. And I think in the context of the high inflation that we have been experiencing over the last year or two, I think that may be expected, especially in circumstances where employers are either unable or unwilling to reward workers with increases that will allow them to keep pace with inflation. So, and a lot of the angst as well, certainly in the public sector, is caused by actions that end up being in breach of agreements that have been arrived at as well, and that is something that adds to the discontent as well.
Okay, Lami, what is your? Well, I saw you in the Senate last Friday. You and Senator Gale talking about the removal of increments. You explain that for me, please.
Well, first let me say I agree with much of what Elena said.
Yes.
But I want to add to the list of people who have shown disgruntlement, those workers from the JUTC.
Yes.
Who also the drivers.
Yes.
Who went on industrial action last week over much of the same problems.
Right.
In other words, they got an advance in Christmas. But the government has unilaterally taken out their increments and taken back their advance. And so some of them would have had to go home with zero in their pocket. Zero. And it was uncaring. And I'm told that some people in management were of a view which said, you know what, it's not fair to send home people with zero. But members in the board were insisting that the deduction should take place. So on Friday in the Senate, I spoke about increments, and I'm happy that Senator Gale, who is from the government side, also recognized it. Eileen has written on behalf of the Confederation of Trade Unions to the Ministry of Finance, saying there was no agreement in respect to non-payment of increment. Now, increment is an annual payment. Whether you have wage freeze, wage restraint, or normal increase, the increment is paid. It's about 2.5% of your annual pay that goes to increment. So, Elena and I signed an agreement in 2017 to 2021. And over that 4 years, I think, Eileen, we agree on a 20% over the 4 years.
Yeah.
And that 20% was in addition to increment every year for that period.
Okay.
And I believe, Eileen, we also continue to pay increment to the temporary workers, as we had agreed in the 2015-2017 agreement. And so increment is something that is paid subject to performance, Eileen will tell you. But it is a legitimate expectation of the workers that they will continue to get their increment. They have gotten it for the last several decades. And so for the government now, having signed off with my colleagues, to then send out a circular ambushing the unions to say no increment will be paid for the next 3 years, but you will get a minimum 20%. Well, we got 20% over the last 4 years with increment. So if you take this increment away, the workers are not going to be as benefiting as they expect to be, and as the agreement says. And I made the point in the Senate on Friday that just the 6th of March this year, the Court of Appeal handed down an award, a judgment in a case against a worker from the Ministry of Justice who was fired and was asking for more money than was paid to him. And the Court of Appeal says, quoting an 1875 judgment, that contracts freely entered into are sacred and can't be changed without agreement.
Okay.
And so the agreement, long-standing agreement for increment, must be honored by the government. They can't change it unilaterally. There has to be an agreement. There has to be discussion and negotiation. And while I was involved in those negotiations along with Ellie and others, I am unaware of any discussion about the increment being avoided and not being paid.
Yes.
And so we say the government must pay the increment.
Right.
And I think we're very clear on that. So it is going to lead to unrest, and some of the workers, teachers, for example, are saying, hey, the increase that we got is not what we expected, not only what we expected, but it just don't look fair. For example, somebody sent me something and said, there's a teacher with 25 years of experience and a teacher of 2 years, but the 2-year teacher get more retroactivity than the teacher with 25 years. Yes. Not because their variables change, but because of the way the skills were aligned. And just to be clear on that, if you are working now, say as a police officer or a teacher, and you have had several years of service, you're likely to be high up in the skills because you get annual increment every year, and the increment move you up in the scales.
Right.
What the government has done with this negotiation is to say you are not going to move, if you are at 0.8 in the current scale, you're not going to move to 0.8 in the next scale. We're going to put you at 0.4. And if you just come in the system, you're at 0.1 or 0.2, so that you are likely to get more money because of the movement. And I have always argued that the movement in the scales ought to be point to point. And what was done is cheating the workers. And when you add to that the absence of increment for 3 years, I believe the workers have not been fairly treated, and hence the unrest. And I believe the unrest is going to grow.
Yes. So, Mrs. White, during the negotiation with the Ministry of Finance, I mean, these points were raised and agreed to between unions and government.
Which point?
I mean, what Lambert said a while ago. In other words, what my understanding now is that some work, because I heard that from the police force, for example, members of the police force are saying that senior constables and corporals got less pay than junior constables. And I am saying, how that work out? There must be some miscalculation.
The truth is that is possible based on the conversions. And just think about it. Based on what was finally agreed, remember, initially the government was intending to convert everybody to the minimum, regardless of where you are. You were in the old scales. They were proposing to convert everybody to the minimum. And I would tell you that is not unusual. When we had health sector reclassification several years ago, that is exactly what happened, because the government had a system in place over all the years that once you had reclassifications that ended up in a situation where the maximum of the old scale was less than the minimum of the new scale, everybody converted to the minimum. So that was always the case. Okay. But in this particular situation, what we we rejected that approach of everybody converting to the minimum, and what we were able to negotiate instead was a graduated conversion to the new scale. So what you have is somebody who was at the first to the fourth point of the old scale will convert to the first point of the new scale. So if you think of it, if I'm at the first point of the old scale and there's somebody at the fourth point of the old scale, both of us are converting to the first point of the new scale. It means, therefore, the person who is at the first point, the difference between their old pay and their new pay is going to be more than the difference between the person who is at the fourth point of the old scale and the first point of the new scale. So that is why you do have situations where, in terms of the retroactive pay, so they end up getting the same pay, but one gets more retroactive pay than the other, and that's by virtue of doing the calculations and what the difference ends up being. You're subtracting a lower amount, and therefore you end up with more retroactive pay, and that has caused a lot of discontent because workers are basically comparing themselves against each other, and it creates this kind of problem, which is what we were trying to avoid, where we had rejected this thing about everybody converting to the minimum and tried to get them to the point-to-point, but the government did not agree to point-to-point, and what we came away with is this graduated kind of conversion to the new scale.
Okay. So, yes, and so...
But I just want to make it clear that in respect to the increments, the removal of increments over this 3-year period, there was no discussion, much less agreement on the issue of the increments. That was something that the Ministry of Finance sent out by circular when they were advising of the implementation of the new rates. That is something that we are totally in disagreement with, because there was neither discussion nor agreement. And there are several other items that came out in that circular and other circulars which purport to be as a result of the agreement. But when one looks at the heads of agreement or the MOU, whichever you want to refer to it as, between the government and the unions, there is absolutely no mention of the things that are being referred to in these circulars. And again, it is creating a lot of discontent. Workers are looking on and saying, really, that it appears that certainly even for those who were more or less satisfied with the increases that they were getting, it came home to them as if the government was giving with one hand and taking back with another, which is also the situation with the taxation as well. People are disgruntled, and there is a call for the income tax threshold to be increased. As unions, we recognize that cannot be done only for public sector workers. It has to be for the entire workforce. But even so, we believe that a lot has happened since the threshold was moved to 1.5 million, and it actually needs to be revised now. We believe we have put that on the table to the Minister of Finance, and he has indicated that it could not be accommodated in this financial year, but they are certainly considering what can be done in upcoming financial years.
Yes. So what is being done with those, for the increments that was removed unilaterally? I mean, have you...
Before we get to the increment, may I just say,
yes,
the government promote this compensation review as being fair and equitable.
Yes.
I disagreed with the alignment and the conversion because I don't think it was going to lead to fairness. And I am still of the view that it is not fair. And for the reasons we outlined there. And you're going to have, for example, people getting the same pay, but one with tremendous more experience and almost like a supervisor.
Yes.
And so you're going to lose productivity. And why should I get in the same pay, be teaching you or assisting you to learn the skills that I have learned over 10, 15, 20 years. So, wrong move on the part of the government. Another thing that I note that is absent is that the government paid US 1.5, I believe it was, in dollars to Ernst and Young to do a study.
1.5.
We have not.
1.5
1.5
million.
US. That's what, over 200 million, J?
Yeah. 1.5 million US.
1.5 million
US.
Yes.
US.
Yes.
And you're talking about a million, that's 150, and half of that is 200 when you add it up. But I have not seen that Ernst and Young study.
Yes.
And I'm not sure that how much it has influenced this thing, because as Ellen will point out, we are saying there's a private sector comparability, which is what we signed for in 2015. That has to be done. And I'm not sure that that was done and shown to us. Maybe the government couldn't afford it, but it can't be that you abandon it without sharing it with us, and then you come with this method of converting, which is absolutely unfair.
I would say, though, they present us with, in that bundle of documents that we got, the results of the market survey of the private sector companies. There were several banks, insurance companies. I forget which other. I think Grace Kennedy may have been one as well. There are several companies that they looked at, and the benchmark jobs were identified, and you saw the comparisons. What happened, though, is that Ernst and Young put the information in various quartiles, and you saw how far the public sector was off the private
was behind. How far the public sector was behind.
Behind in the various quartiles, and we thought that probably it would have been better if the government was able to have converted or to have used the third quartile instead of the second quartile. And so what the government indicated to us when we asked what quartile they were seeking to align the public sector to, we were told second quartile. But that is essentially saying, so, I mean, there are a lot of persons out there and they hear that this exercise is costing how much billions of dollars. And, it looks very good on the surface. But what it is actually saying by virtue of the alignment to the second quartile is that you are actually bringing the public sector to up to about 50% of the private sector market. So we're still quite far off in terms of the alignment between public and private sector. The other thing that arose out of that is that you found when you looked at the benchmark jobs, some jobs were further off market or behind market than others were. So this is why you got the differential increases. So you would find a lot of people in the technical categories, yes, their alignment was much higher up than those who that had other skills. And so I think people with the accounting skills didn't come out very high in as compared to the private sector as well. So in this kind of an exercise, you will always have those, because what you're really looking at is what is the market paying for various skills. And so in the case of the public sector, we haven't done this exercise in umpteen years. And so, in the labor market, there may have been shifts and movements that were not being experienced in the public sector. And what you're really doing now is changing entirely how public sector workers are compensated and the alignment with the private sector. It has meant that, people are changing how they are looking at jobs in the public sector. It may also be a situation where, persons who are employed have to look at, the skills that they have and look at what skills are actually in demand, what skills attract a high premium in terms of pay. And, a lot has changed over the last 20 years in terms of how people are remunerated for the skills that they have. So yes, we did get the documents in the bundle of documents that they gave. We saw the companies that were being surveyed, but as I indicate, the real problem is the fact that the government was only able to bring the public sector up to the second quartile of the private sector market.
That's a choice the government made.
Yeah.
In negotiation for job evaluation and so forth, both parties need to decide on where we're going.
And that would normally have been the case.
Yeah, and I don't think that this is so in this case. And maybe there's a ability to pay. I see they have they brought to the Senate with hours notice the 9% of wage to GDP. They have repealed that. So there's no longer that fiscal responsibility target binding the government. And I hope that they will continue the negotiations so we can get justice. The police, the teachers, the firefighters, and others in the middle, including postal workers. And what they have done is to merge people at more or less the same rates of pay, and it is creating problems. So I hope that the unions, myself included, will be looking to see all of these anomalies, because when we had the discussions with them earlier, Ellen, we spoke about the potential of anomalies being created and the need to address those post any settlement. So I hope that will come. And as I say, I support your call on Friday for income tax threshold to be removed, because a lot of workers with the merging of allowances now are above the tax threshold and will start paying taxes. In addition to all the consumer taxes, when you move to 1.5, when that is the government move the income tax threshold to 1.5, they put in $30 billion of consumption taxes.
Yes.
So every worker now have to be paying those consumption taxes. Plus now have to start paying from their allowance bump up. They now have to go pay PAYE as well. And this is why I'm saying what the government has done is not fair. It needs a review, and it needs to be done urgently. And when you add to that you're taking away the increment unilaterally, that is disaster for workers.
Now, tell me something, because I heard somebody talking about this. Both of you clarify this for me now. So, like the minimum wage workers, what they have been? What are the taxes they must pay now?
The minimum wage isn't going to get to the threshold. You're talking about 13,000 times 52. That's 100. That's 500 times and not. So they're not going to get to 1.5 at minimum wage.
But
just do a quick calculation.
But they have to pay the education tax and
well, they always pay education tax, which is so unfair, because the education tax goes into the consolidated fund like the PAYE, like the GCT, and I believe that workers below a certain level shouldn't be paying the education tax.
So like PAYE and NHT, they have to pay that.
They have to pay no, not PAYE. They have to pay NHT. NIS, education tax, art trust, but not the PAYE, that is pay as you earn income tax.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would like to be clarified, as you both know, that they are well, let me say what I have seen. I have seen that this exercise, that the senior workers, the workers who are in the hold higher positions, like say for example in the teaching profession, the principals, and like the senior civil servants, their pay is significantly more than the rank and file workers. Now, And I don't hear much complaint from that category. Now, what I would like to know, do we know what percentage of this package will be paid to the senior public servants and the politicians? Do we know?
But personally, I haven't had the actual figures. But what I do know is that the numbers at that level is far less than the numbers at the lower levels.
Yes.
So it is not likely in percentage terms to be a very large percent of the overall wage bill,
yes,
or the overall amount to implement the increase.
Yes.
But again, what has happened in this situation is that because it is not an across-the-board increase, you are looking at the alignments for similar categories in the private sector. I think, and I did raise it in one of the meetings the negotiation meetings, that by doing this exercise, we could actually import into the public sector the wide disparity that exists in the private sector between persons at the very top and the persons coming down the line to middle management, because there are gaps there.
Yes.
And it's a similar thing that has happened here, because if you are comparing your permanent secretaries and those at that level to like CEOs in the private sector, again, we are looking at them at like 50% of the market.
Yes.
And although the amounts are that high, they're still really at about 50% of the market. But that's because in the private sector, the people at that level get a lot of pay. When you come down the line now to middle management, which is where we have the major problem in the public sector, you have these disparities. And in fact, that is one of the areas that we concentrated on in the discussions that resulted in us taking such a long time to try to come to any kind of agreement, because by negotiations we were able to get the salaries at the middle management level to be increased by I think just about 200,000 per year more than what was originally on the table, because what was there we felt was going to be so inequitous that we could not have gone through with it. And that does not mean with the 200,000 per year that has been added that it has solved the problem. It has lessened the problem, but it hasn't solved the problem.
Okay.
And the thing is that going forward, the agreement calls for us to review the MOU at the end of the second year to try to ensure that, we are able to recover what may be lost to inflation over the period since the figures were developed and the end of the second year. And at that point, we will have an ability to be able to make adjustments if found to be necessary, because we had to build that safeguard into the agreement that we were signing as well. And also in the second year, we will be focusing a lot on the classification issues, because some of the problems that we are having really result from problems with classification, where it is that people are actually classified, because some persons are not satisfied with where they have been classified. And in this second year is when we'll be focusing on issues having to do with classification. There are some government departments, when you look at the structures and look at the levels of pay, it is clear that there are classification problems. And it is in this second year that we'll be focusing on the classification issues.
Yes, yes.
Well, let me just say, I'm glad Eileen has made the point that for the middle it is iniquitous despite efforts being made. But I will say this, Desmond, the people at the top are going to be the ones who are best off, and that includes politicians.
Yes.
But I need you to see the context. If you say the Prime Minister now gets 9 million.
Yeah.
But the head of an agency under the Prime Minister's watch gets 23 million.
And 16 million.
And 16 million.
Yeah.
The question would be asked is why pay the minister or the Prime Minister below that? I mean, it was so bad that I saw a senior official in a ministry, I won't say the title, applied for a job in one of the agency, one of the many agencies that that person supervised.
Yes.
And that the pay for that one ministry, one agency, was significantly more than that technical person would get working in the straight civil service. So I believe that there needs to be adjustment there. Because otherwise you also run the risk of not retaining people with skills that you need.
Yes, of
and
course.
So,
of course.
And so I'm saying I'm not going to fight and oppose increases to that levels. My concern is those in the middle groupings who have not been treated as fairly as they ought to be in the circumstances, and that is where the government needs to pay some attention to address those. And I come back to the police, the teachers, the uniform groups, fire, correction services, and there are other agencies like that. I mean, if you compare the lawyers, for example, I don't think the lawyers are fairly treated. Private sector lawyers make a bag of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are areas that need to be addressed. And I hope that that will be done soon.
Yeah, because, you know, I have always thought about it myself. When you look at the salaries paid to the Prime Minister, this Prime Minister...
Hello?
No, I'm saying when you look at the salaries over the years, this Prime Minister is getting a lot more than previous Prime Ministers, you know, right? No, and when you look at...
No, when you say over the years, but everybody gets more than them used to get.
Yes, but
over the years.
Yes, I know, but when you look at the salary paid to the Prime Minister now, you look at his responsibility and compare it with that of a CEO for a private sector company, the disparity is too wide. I believe it is too wide.
It is very wide, and the problem for the public sector is the funding to be able to do all that needs to be done.
Yes.
And this is one of the reasons why in the discussions with the government prior to us moving ahead with the compensation review, we had to decide whether